What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
77.
77.
Let me get rid of this Google Maps that I just started looking at.
Not 76ers. 77.
Oh, we should have made a joke about that last
I know,
week.
we kind of missed it.
That's
honestly
such a missed opportunity.
I just thought of it as you said 76. So it's not even the 76ers. We could have made so many like American history jokes.
We could have, yeah. It's fine.
Missed it. It's a miss on our end.
Yeah,
Sorry,
it's a big miss on
people.
our end, everybody. Hello,
Next
friends. Next time on episode 176. That's what it'll be.
Okay.
Yeah, confirmed.
2 years time.
For 176
if you
episodes.
like lay it out this time next year, like, because I feel like in the spring we'll hit 100 when we hit 50. So
Fair.
then this time, not next fall, the fall after. If we're still doing this.
We'll be in that range. I think we'll still be doing this, please. Please. With the way this year's shaping up, then going in the next year, and then going into a year of new regulations.
Oh,
come on.
Yeah, that'll be the year. Be the year with new regs. It'll be 100.
New
Yeah.
regs.
Or definitely sticking those through the new regs.
But welcome, everyone. I just hit the wire that's holding my headphones. That just kind of annoyed me a little bit.
I can still
Welcome
hear
to episode 77 of F1 Underground. As always, my name is Owen. That is my sister, Casey. We talk
Hello.
about all things F1. We have a little bit of IndyCar news today as well to talk about. We had a fucking exciting race over the weekend.
Might be one of my favorites from the whole season.
I think it was a lot of fun. And like I'll say this too before we dive into everything. I was pretty much passed out on my couch watching this race because late night, wedding,
Mm-hmm.
was hooked to that race the entire time. My body wasn't even like thinking about sleeping as I was watching that race.
No.
But before we get into that, as always, we will start with our memes of the week. Then we will jump into our weekly news. Like I said,
Which it really hasn't been. Yeah.
Really hasn't been a lot of news. Some indie news, like we talked about. And then after that, we have Pints and Pit Stops is making a return. This
But
time,
with
though,
me.
Casey will be testing me. And then we will jump into our Azerbaijan GP recap, which there is a good amount to talk about there. We will do a quick, in that recap, drivers and constructors standings update.
You knew it was coming, people. You knew
had
it was
to do
coming.
it. Come on. You had to do it. Following that, F1Threads Mailbags, and then we'll do our Singapore prediction.
Yeah.
So,
And there's not that
Back
F1Threads
to-
mailbags shouldn't be that long. So there was actually one other piece of news today. We got confirmation about next year, but that will take 2 seconds. About like preseason testing and then when the season officially starts.
Yeah.
But nothing else crazy.
yeah.
But yes, meme of the week. I'm going first. It's about one shocker to everyone. It's not about Charles Leclerc. It's about everyone.
Favorite driver.
Everyone on the grid's favorite, Franco Colapinto. If you've seen my thread today, I think if everyone on Threads donates $1, if not more, we could come together and create a hashtag F1Threads team and keep Franco Colapinto on the grid. I think we get it done by the time preseason testing rolls around next year. But so this is from Twitter. So it says Colapinto is proof that you can be good at your job and be chronically online at the same time. Because last weekend, right before Baku, I don't know if he was a little tipsy or what, but the stuff he was tweeting,
He was posting the
it
crazy.
was so funny. It was the like the funniest stuff, but he only tweets in Spanish, so that's what makes it even better. So like and then you hit like the translates when you like if you read it in English or whatever. Seeing what he's actually typing out is so funny. And then like the next day he was like, "I will be getting rid of social media and now have a social media manager," and everyone was like, "No, we lost a good one. We lost a good one." But yes, based from what we've seen before, he got it taken away. He was chronically online. but as we've learned, is good at his job. But yes, that was my meme of the week. Owen?
I'll be honest with you right now. I'm scrambling to find a meme of the week.
I was wondering if you were ready.
I am scrambling.
I could have had like 12, so.
You know what? Actually, my meme of the week won't have a picture with it.
Okay.
My meme of the week will kind of be a race recap, but I thought it was hilarious because this is now the second race that we've had this season where George Russell has stumbled onto a podium because two other drivers crashed. That's my meme of the week. That's what it is.
I almost picked the picture of Charles and Oscar looking at him when they're like getting ready to do post-race interviews because both Charles and Oscar look like, how did you get here?
How did you get up here?
Like, how did you make it on here? Yeah.
That was my only thought. That was my only thought when that crash happened and George got up to third. I was like, we've now seen this story twice where George gets up onto the podium when two other drivers crash in front of him.
George has some weird things when it comes to crash. The 2 times Carlos has won the past 2 years, George crashes in the last lap.
True.
George has ended up on the podium twice this year because someone crashes.
Because someone else has crashed out. God.
Yeah. But yes, that was wild. We'll get into the race recap though in a little bit. Like we said, we have a few pieces. It's not really weekly news. We have one, but before we get into it, as always, there's been some beautiful pieces coming out from IPF1Store.com this past week. I need to buy that one with the painting because I'm obsessed with the castle corner in Baku. But as always, the coupon code is at the bottom of our screen, Underground 10, only vowels leading you, to get 10% off on your purchase at IPF1Store.com. I'm going to start teasing it now. We may have a fun little thing coming with him in a few weeks. Leading up to COTA. So we will be getting more details and putting that out there as we get closer. We're like a month away. What?
You had me going there for a second because I genuinely wasn't sure what you were talking
about.
No,
I could tell. We always had a recap of tropical depression.
No, we are not doing that again. We are not doing that again. When I tell you, I showed up to this wedding. Quick story time here. I showed up to this wedding on Saturday, right? Sitting in the church, sitting in the pew, ready to go, right? Angie's aunt came up to me. Didn't even say hello to me. Looks at me dead in the eyes and goes, "Any tropical depressions this weekend?" And I looked at her and I said, I don't want to hear it. This thing has followed me now for way too long.
Way too long. It's been like 3 days. But yeah, that was one of the funniest
3 days too long.
In our episode, in any one of our episodes. But yes, like we just to quickly go back, IPF1Store.com, coupon code Underground10 to get 10% off your purchase. Quickly, the one piece of actual F1 news, which I really don't think it was because I feel like we've had confirmation of this, but there was rumor that preseason testing was going to be split in between like 2 cities. I think it was going to be like Barcelona again and then Bahrain. Yeah. But they confirmed today that preseason testing will be held in Bahrain again next year from February 26th to the 28th.
We're going back.
Yeah, and then the season, different from this year and the past year, the season will start in Australia on March 16th. So we'll have like a week off, and then it'll be race week before. Yeah. Gives them all time to get to Australia and stuff. So 3 Aussies on the grid. First race of the year. Yeah, that'll be chaos.
That'll be chaos. It's going to be a good race, especially with how Baku just won. It's going to be, if Oscar Piastri can win down there, it's going to be nuts.
Yeah, nuts.
To kick off the season.
Yeah. But yes, that was our one piece of weekly news. Are you okay there?
I'm checking to make sure my fan's on.
Quick,
very distracted right now.
Yeah, you very, very are. Quick piece of IndyCar recap. We won't spend too much time on it. It was the last race of their season this year. Championship was at play. It was a nail biter. It was either Alex Palou or Will Power. Alex Palou, who's 27. Will Power, who's, I forget how old they said he was.
30. I'm taking a stab. 36.
No, he's 43.
Whoa. I thought 40s was too old.
No, that's the thing. He's still in it, driving in his prime. Scott Dixon's still in IndyCar, driving in his prime. Like, That's what makes IndyCar so cool. But yes, so it came down to Alex Palou, Will Power. And it was like all the numbers were crunching. It was also the last broadcast on NBC for IndyCar because next year they'll be on Fox.
Yep.
I hope James Hinchcliffe moves over to Fox. There's a rumor that he is. No one really knows for sure yet. He's just so good to listen to.
I feel like he's so synonymous with IndyCar that it's like.
I mean, he was in IndyCar. He won. Like, he's well known. He's a well known personality within the sport. He has to. Fox would be stupid if they didn't bring him over. But we do get him in Singapore this week on an F1 TV. So
we do. That's right.
Yeah, so he'll be back. He's one of the IndyCar people running over. They literally said on the broadcast yesterday that I think they gave Pato the week off. He was mostly coming to Singapore, I think, to be reserved for McLaren. But Felix Rosenqvist gets married, and I think he's in the wedding. But they literally said on TV, they're like, most of those drivers are heading over to Sweden after this for Felix's wedding next week. So that'll be cool. But yes, so it came down, championship, Nashville, on an oval this year. The past few years, the Nashville race has been a street circuit, but they're building a new stadium for the Titans, and that's interrupting with some of the streets and traffic. So it had to be on the oval. We need to go to an oval race. I swear to God, we need to go to one.
Yeah, I really want to go to one.
They're so exciting. We had 3 wide multiple times yesterday on the oval. Like down the straight, 3 wide. It's intense. So it starts off, Alex Palou and Will Power both had engine penalties, so they were farther back, which made it even more exciting.
Yeah.
But we're like 10 laps in, 15 laps in. Will Power's seatbelt comes unbuckled. So he had to pull in to the pit lane, like a green flag pit stop, which they always say is like the worst thing to do because a lot of them, especially ovals, they can take their pit stops during a caution and like stay in the lane. He was 5 laps down, like 20 laps in. It was so depressing. You just knew in that moment when he was pulling in because his seatbelt was unplugged, it was going to be a longer pit stop, and they like the championship battle for him was over. Like it was Alex Palou's to lose at that point.
Oh, that is brutal.
Brutal, awful. So yeah, goes on. Colton Herta is actually the one who wins the race.
Right.
Him and Joseph Newgarden, there was a battle, man, back and forth for a really long time. And the best part about the oval is there's traffic all the time. So they were battling through lapped cars for so long, and the lapped cars just don't let them by. They have to overtake them so like they could crash. Anything could have happened. But yeah, Colton Herta wins his first oval, which is great for him because he's come close recently, but he won his first one finally. And then Alex Palou does take away the championship, his 3rd championship win. He is only 27 years old.
It's wild.
Yeah, but the real stinker is because of that issue with Will Power and the seatbelt, how far back he fell. He was lapped 5 times or 5 laps back. Colton Herta jumped in and took 2nd in the championship.
Oh.
As well, so... Yeah, it was an awful day for Will Power. I felt so bad.
Oh, that is brutal.
Yeah, and Flava Flav was there, who's BFF with Will Power. He was fuming.
That's
Leave it at
tough.
that. Yeah,
gotta be tough to watch.
But yeah, so it was an intense race. It was 206 laps, which you would think 206 laps feels forever, but on an oval, they go so fast. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're spending what? 90% of that at full throttle,
well, I mean, there is like the Indy 500, there's a lot of cautions, and there was I think there was 3 or 4 cautions yesterday, but it doesn't feel long. The one was very long. Oh no, there was a caution during practice because Nolan Siegel crashed pretty bad, and it took forever for them to fix the wall. But it was supposed to be like an hour and a half of running time. Ramon was 2 hours of practice, and they literally ended up getting 45 minutes of practice. That's how long it took for them to fix the wall. Yeah. But yeah, so that was the quick IndyCar recap. I want to talk about that. Alex Palou, unreal to watch. Carlos congratulated him on Instagram.
I saw that. Yeah.
He's the real deal. He is the real deal.
Yeah.
And when Colton Herta won, right away, they said, is that going to give him enough points for a super license? Because apparently he tried to get into F1. Oh. And they told him no because he didn't have enough super point license. And he's a good racing car driver. So
that's interesting.
Like, if Andretti gets their foot in the door, and he now has enough points for a super license, I would not be surprised. He's like their golden boy.
Yeah, that would be so interesting to see.
Yeah. But
Come on over, Colton. Let's
Come
make
on.
it happen.
Yeah.
Is he American? Is that an American?
He's American. His dad was a race car driver for IndyCar and stuff too. So
very good. Okay.
So that was Colton. Did you also see, before we get into Pints and Pit Stops? I haven't watched enough NASCAR, but they were in Watkins Glen this weekend.
I saw a couple clips. I think Casper had posted some on Threads, and I saw a couple clips here and there, but not a lot to understand the gist. Wasn't there some like huge?
Yeah, there was
controversy. Like,
I think so.
Yeah.
Because they do like the playoffs now until they do their like the championship and stuff. But yeah, there was a lot. But I just seeing it was in Watkins Glen makes me miss that area. So
yeah.
But yes, moving on to Pints and Pit Stops.
Pints and Pit Stops. Oh God, this is me this time. I'm nervous.
So Pints and Pit Stops, it's me asking Owen the questions. If you're new here, I will ask Owen 5 questions, and he has to answer them as quick as possible. That is I will time him on my phone. That is the point of the pit stop. Normally, we have a pint of something, beer, whatever, to try. We both just have water today.
I will say this now too. I am on my 2-month alcohol fast before the Philadelphia Marathon. So the next time I will be drinking is post marathon.
Yeah, that first we should do one that week after because you will want to drink.
I just had Bryn just bought me some IPAs at a brewery he went to, and I was like, "Oh, perfect! It'll be my first post marathon drink."
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, by the way, they're 9%. I said, "Oh, okay, all right. Well, that's good. You know, first drink in 2 months, and it'll be a 9%, or I'll be on the floor and on the after half."
Yeah, right. But normally Owen asks me questions. I'm asking him questions today, and they are all on Baku. I don't think they're that hard, but we'll see how you do. As always, I will start the timer for Owen after I finish reading the first question. Are you ready?
No. I'm sorry. It's about Baku?
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right.
Okay, ready?
I'm ready.
What lap did Oscar overtake Charles?
22.
How many laps did Daniel drive on the hard tires?
50.
How many points did Williams score?
7.
Who did Lando have to imagine on his shoulder?
Andrea Stella.
What famous NBA player tweeted about Oscar?
Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons!
Oh my no! Oh, that's so upsetting.
Do I ask you again? What famous NBA player tweeted about Oscar?
Well, indeed. No, I should be punished for that one. That should be like 2 seconds added to my time.
Okay.
Man.
So your time was a 24:50.
Okay. I know I definitely got the first one wrong.
I don't think you're going to be happy with yourself.
Okay.
You ready?
Sure.
So, what lap did Oscar overtake Charles? What I say you're not going to be happy is because you're like this close. It was lap 20 is when Oscar overtook Charles.
God. I knew it was somewhere more towards the beginning of the race and not like halfway through. That's so upsetting.
No, this one's going to piss you off even more. How many laps did Daniel drive on the hard tires? 49. You said 50.
You know what? I thought I had that one in the bag too because I literally just saw something about that of Daniel doing 50 laps on hard tires. Oh my God.
How many points did Williams score? They scored 10 actually. Alex got Colapinto got 6 and Alex got 4. I think.
Oh.
I think Alex finished below Colapinto. Let me double check.
I can tell you.
Race results.
God damn it.
No. They literally Alex is 7th, Colapinto's 8th. Who did Lando have to imagine on his shoulder? Andrea. That was the funniest radio message of the entire race.
That was a great radio message.
And then what famous NBA player tweeted about Oscar? It was Joel Embiid. Oscar retweeted back saying, I want basketball lessons from you. Yeah. Oscar.
I didn't know Oscar answered. That's good.
Later on, he answered.
So what is that? That is a 28-50?
Yeah, you added a lot of time.
Poor performance on my end.
Joel Embiid said Oscar Piastri is a future world champion. And then Oscar Piastri tweeted back, said, not at basketball, need coaching session off of you. And I said, Oscar, come to Philly, please.
So, all right. So as it stands, now, granted, you only have 2 times in here, and I have 1 time in here. The fastest time you've ever completed this in is 27 seconds. The fastest time I've ever done is now this time with Google just rounded up for me, just giving me 29 seconds. But your average time is 31 seconds, and my average time is 29 seconds.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, we'll keep building those out.
Yeah, we will. But yes, that was Pints and Pit Stops.
Ben Simmons, what the?
Yeah, why did you say Ben Simmons?
Because you know what? I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this, and I don't blame you if you post this because it might generate content. I pair Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid in my head together.
Well,
because when they got on the team, it was like the Lord and Savior came to the 76ers. It was, they're like, these two are going to lead this team to victory, especially Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons was like, everybody was like, this is it. We win, So I had Joel Embiid in my head. I just said the wrong name.
Well, yeah, because everyone knows Joel Embiid actually does watch F1 pretty frequently. So.
Yeah, he loves it.
Yeah.
We should get him to come in Human Robot.
That'd be hilarious.
That'd be awesome.
Well, when we want to do it next would be mid-season. It'd be during the season, so.
He'll probably also go to a couple watch parties at the arcade. He's probably thrilled that an arcade is coming to Philly.
Oh, he definitely is thrilled about the arcade coming.
Yeah. He's probably pumped.
But Joel Embiid also, he tweeted twice during that race. First one was Oscar Piastri. Second one was what the fuck was Sainz doing?
Nice.
Yes.
Good work.
Moving on. Good work. Race talk. Baku. Like we said.
What a race.
Might be one of my favorites of the entire season. And there's been very good ones this entire season. Maybe post-season content, we can rate our favorites from the 2024 season because there's been so many good races.
Oh, that's going to be good.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to rewatch a few or maybe do like the race and 30s stuff that F1 TV puts on. Just so I know.
Yeah. But yes. We can only skip over 2 of the teams quickly and talk about them because some of the other teams had pretty bad weekends or good weekends. Sauber and Aston, I can't really say I paid attention to either of them at all.
No, you had Lance Stroll make contact with Yuki
at the beginning,
in the opening lap. He had a puncture. He then retired pretty quickly. And then Yuki was probably about 10 laps later. He retired.
No, Yuki retired.
Yeah, didn't Stroll retire too?
I don't think so.
I thought Stroll retired as well.
Yeah, on lap 45, Yuki's the one that retired first.
Oh, Yuki retired first. Yes, because he had a massive fucking hole in his side pod.
Yeah. No, because if you look at box, Lance did 1 lap on the first tires and then went.
Oh, that's right.
Onto the hards.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. I can picture him
going in the pit lane.
Diving into the pit lane. Yes, that's what I'm
because then he was so far back from the very beginning. But yes, that was really the only thing I could think of with Aston after their crazy week they had with Newey being announced officially.
Yeah, they need that to go into effect as soon as possible.
Yeah, if he could skip his gardening leave and start tomorrow, I think they would have him.
They would.
Yeah, Sauber again, still no points for them. I do have to say, they've just started recently. Valtteri Bottas goes on his bike and does a track walk. They strap a GoPro to his bike. It's the best YouTube content I've ever watched.
Really?
And he goes through and gives different descriptions about how you have to hug the racing line here and then go to the other side for the one turn. It was very entertaining. And it's so funny because it's that 3D GoPro, so it makes him look hilarious in the shots.
Oh, that's a smart decision.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I highly recommend.
Yeah, look at this. It's the first thing that pops up.
Well, I don't think they've done it long, but this most recent one, I discovered it.
They just uploaded 4 days ago for Baku, and then they've got one for Monza, they've got one for Zandvoort, they've got one for Spa.
Oh, he's been doing it for a while.
God,
watch
can
him.
you imagine going up fucking Eau Rouge on a bike?
No, I want to go back because you did hear him. I feel like Baku, you can't really tell elevation changes as much because it's in the city, but you can tell at one point he's going up a hill. And then he's now we're going down the hill. But he gives nice descriptions about a track walk while on his bike. Yeah. No, they're entertaining.
Once we're done recording.
But yeah, that's one thing I can say about Sauber. Besides Joe also changing everything in his car, I think.
Yes, yeah. Which didn't obviously
help
work out. Yeah.
I saw someone on Threads today post, what is Sauber doing? Are they even bringing upgrades?
No, they're not. They are not.
But yes, so that was quick. I know there's other teams you could talk a lot about. Alpine, downright awful weekend.
I wasn't even paying attention to them. I'll be honest with you. I mean, we had they did not finish in the points. Their highest finishing was Pierre Gasly, who finished 6 spots higher than when he started. In 12th place, and we had Esteban Ocon, who finished in 15th, which is 5 spots higher from where he started.
Yeah.
Oh, and he also
Gasly was
Pierre went longer than anybody on tires. Pierre's went from lap 1 to 50 on hards, and then
a lot of people did the
51 on softs. Huh.
Yeah, but they also just had a Ocon there from the pit lane. Yes. Gasly ended up being disqualified after qualifying, so he started at the back of the grid. So, I mean, yeah, just kind of a disaster weekend.
Typical Alpine weekend.
Yeah, literally typical Alpine weekend. V-Carb, we can go into them. Like we said, Yuki had contact with Stroll. It caused him to DNF pretty early. He DNF'd on lap 14. He did also. Oh no, he tried making it last on the tires after the puncture until lap 12, and then he did come in the pit and lasted 2 laps on those hards, and then called it quits. But that's 2 weekends in a row for him, so that's not very good.
Not a good sign. Which I want to rewatch the contact between him and Stroll, but from what I can remember, I don't think much of it was that it was his fault.
No, I don't think so. It's just, I think it was that first turn is so crowded off the start.
So tight.
Yeah, so tight. Also, V-Carb, people were saying, I think I need to go back and watch Daniel's onboards. People were saying that V-Carb kind of just forgot about Daniel the rest of the race. They weren't I guess the strategy sucked, and they just felt like they forgot about him. Huh. I mean, he went 49 laps on the hard tires. Made them work, I guess, but then he pit, and then obviously the virtual safety car comes out at the end. But people were not happy for Daniel once again in that car. And I feel like you can't, if he's left out there to dry by his team, can you fully blame him for his performance? No, I can't.
No.
I can't at all.
No, and I'm sure he's pissed off about it, and I think he should have every right to be pissed.
Yeah. Especially when you know how he's probably under such a microscope for things because of Liam Lawson waiting in the wings. How much pressure is on him. But so V-Car wasn't the best. Good team, Williams this weekend. They officially overtook Alpine in the fight for the midfield, which is amazing to see. Dare I say the best weekend for Williams this entire season? I think it might be.
I'll give them. It was definitely it's a weekend they needed. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to go for. It's a huge weekend for Franco Colapinto. Huge weekend for him. The fact that
first time ever driving that track.
Yeah, and he finishes in the points, and they, like you said, they overtake Alpine in the midfield fight. It goes to show, like, even like, perfect example, like Williams overtaking Alpine for 8th in the Constructors' Championships. Like, that jump from 9th to 8th is going to be so helpful for them in terms of winnings at the end of the season and getting more money to then, yes, it's a huge moment for them. And I mean, it's something, obviously they weren't getting it done with Logan as much as it pains to say it, but yeah, I mean, Franco Colapinto, we talked about, I said, if he scores points in 2 of the 9 races that he has left, he's done his job, and he's got 1 now, and it was on Baku, which is like
probably the hardest
wild to me. Like, the fact that he had a hell of a drive,
Well, and not even just 1 point. He got 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't like he scraped by with 10.
I mean, he finished above Lewis Hamilton.
It's crazy. Did you see that picture of him too? Lewis going up to Franco at the end of the race and congratulating him, and Franco.
I was gonna bring it up.
Franco posted it, and he was like, "This is just a dream come true."
Yeah. Well, Lewis also in the post race, because Lewis spent the majority of the race between or fighting with Franco and Ollie, and he said in the post race, he's like, it's just amazing to see 2 rookies, like the 2 young kids, coming up and putting everything on the line in those cars and doing well and scoring points. And then on Instagram, Lewis posted like about the weekend, because it really was not a good one for him. And what was the caption? Hold on, I know I screenshotted it. Caption. And he just said, congrats to George on the podium and to Franco and Ollie Bierman as well. It was a great fight and amazing to see so much new talent coming in. Like, that, those 2 probably, I mean, Franco commented, so did Ollie. Like, it has to mean the world.
Oh my God, yeah.
Greatest.
It's really, like,
yeah. He's acknowledging them.
A childhood hero is saying, like, hey, like, I see you, I recognize you as a competitor. Like, that is just like, that's gonna be, they're never gonna forget that moment.
No, never. And then also with Williams, seeing Alex up in the top 5 fighting for the majority of the race, I felt like he didn't belong there, but he was holding his own. I mean,
he was fighting.
He was keeping Max behind for a very long time.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely, like, I loved it, but I also kind of hated it because I felt like every chance announcers got, and this was on the F1 TV coverage, they were saying that, like, okay, they're saying with Lando too, but they were like, Lando and Alex haven't pitted yet. And it's like, okay, yeah, you're right. They're kind of up there because cars in front of them have pitted, and they've kind of just worked their way up there just naturally from that. But he still did a fucking awesome job once he got up there, and he was
holding his own. I mean, he was reminding us why he was a good driver and why he was signed for Red Bull for a while. Like, he was doing so well up there.
Yeah.
It was so exciting to see for Williams. I know because people were so unhappy with James when he first made that. I mean, James even said it. He was like, people weren't happy when we signed Franco. He flat out admitted to it, but he was like, and he said he was accrediting a lot of Franco's success to who he is and how much he's come in and doing how much work he's done. And he knows, like, last week or in Monza, he was like so sore after, and he knew what he needed to do to like strengthen up for his neck and stuff. So it is Franco, and now there's rumors he's getting looks from Matteo Binotto for Audi because there is still a seat open there. I mean, there is technically 2 seats open if you count V-Carb as 1.
He put on a hell of a performance to say why he should get a seat.
And we said these last 9 races were the perfect tryout for him to show, like, hey, put me in a car for real. And everyone there's been people on threads being like, this is a business. They're like, we also had the same thing with like Nick DeVries when he was in the car for the Williams that day. People were like, yeah, I get it. But he just did stuff for Williams that they weren't able to, like, someone wasn't able to do for 2 years.
Yeah, the fact that he came in and has had 2 races under his belt in that Williams. And on Baku, again, I feel like that is a point that needs to be brought up. He was racing in Baku on a track that he's never driven before in his life.
Mm-hmm.
And he put up points. Like, come on.
And Monza 2 weeks ago, he was so close to the points.
Right.
Like, the kid's got the natural talent. We can't lose him. Can't lose them. So if you want to donate to our F1Threads team, click the link below.
I'm Sim Racer testing for everybody. I put out a press release earlier just to kind of clarify.
You did. But that was Williams.
Good weekend for Williams. Very good weekend for Williams.
Now to Haas. Okay weekend for them. Ollie scored points. Ollie scored points, and Ollie is now in the record book as the first driver to score points for 2 different teams in his first 2 races in F1.
Wow, would you look at that?
That's an impressive stat.
So where did he jump? Did he jump up in the standings at all or no?
I don't know because he didn't.
No, he kind of fell a little bit. He's 16th right now.
Yeah. But still. But still, he's above K-Mag, he's above Ocon, he's above Franco, obviously the bottom 3.
The fact that Franco is above Zhou and Bottas is wild.
In 2 races.
In 2 races. But
poor Sauber, it's not easy for them. But yes, he was also, we didn't even talk about Franco and how he had the crash in FP1.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, it's a rookie move. Like, he wasn't going to get enough running, but he was able to go out during FP2. Fine. FP3. Fine.
Yeah.
And then you watch Charles Leclerc do the exact same thing during FP1.
And wait, we didn't talk about this. Both Williams in Q3.
Yes.
For the first time ever this year.
That qualifying was wild.
Yeah, it was great qualifying. I shouldn't say great, but
not for you.
We'll get there.
But yeah, Haas was another good weekend. They obviously, we said they get 1 more point. Obviously, a great showing for Ollie.
Yep.
Considering where he is going to be next year in that car. And I do think times are changing there. You can put a rookie, you can put a young kid in that car in Haas, and they're not going to get ridiculed like people said happened to Mick Schumacher. Or we saw in Drive to Survive. We saw Kevin Magnussen sticking out for him. But I kept seeing people be like, keep Ollie in the car. Why even bring K-Mag back? People are like, it's because you have to pay out K-Mag's contract. You have to pay Ollie earlier. It's more of a headache.
It's more of a business decision than it is this kid's better than Kevin. It's we're paying for Kevin. We might as well use him for the rest of the year instead of paying for another driver earlier. That then makes us paying technically for 3 drivers for this year. So it's a whole.
Probably with money they don't have. But the best was in the F1 TV post-race. Laura Winter, they had Ollie on the desk with Laura Winter and stuff.
Yeah.
And she says a stat about him with the scoring points for 2 different teams. He's like, I guess that's a good stat. They're like, yeah, it's a cool stat to have.
It's a cool stat to have. Hey, in my first 2 races in F1, I raced for 2 different teams
and scored
points for both of them.
Yeah,
and then
they literally, this one was even funnier. As she points out that he is in the exact same position in the F1 and the F2 standings, and he was like, "Oh, gee, thanks."
Hey, the league that you're trying to break into, you're in 16th, which is great. But the league that you've been in now for a little bit, you're in 16th place, which is not so good.
No, it's F2. Very excited. But now we have K-Mag coming back, 0 penalty points and nothing to lose.
Everybody better watch the fuck out. Dude, K-Mag's gonna have some Batmobile gadgets on the wheels with the spikes coming out to pop tires left and right.
He's gonna be elbows out. He's gonna be they're gonna make him qualify in front of Hulkenberg to battle that way through the grid. Yeah, it'll be exciting to watch for him.
You ever see the video from a video game where it's always about Charles and Max, where it's Charles' is only hope this year, and the guy's driving and then pulls out a gun and just starts shooting. That's gonna be K-Mag. It's literally just gonna be tire pop.
Yeah. Tire pop. Yeah, K-Mag's gonna be on a mission. Because, I mean, what does he have to lose? Nothing. Go out with a bang, K-Mag.
The slate is clean now, too, is the best part about it. Like, that's the funniest rule, that it's like, hey, you got these points up, but you served your one place, so now all your penalty points are gone. Not like hey, you're now 12. If you get 15, you're banned for another race. You know, if you get 18, you're banned for 2 races. You know, stuff like that. Like, it's literally just like, you served your penalty, wipe the slate clean, come on back. You know?
Welcome back. But yes, moving on to the top teams. We mentioned, I don't have Mercedes written down on this list, I just realized. We mentioned Mercedes, like we said, wasn't a great weekend for Lewis. George snuck onto the podium.
Yeah, which is hilarious to me. But it's definitely weird that it's happened twice now with George. It's the two nickels joke. But the fact that he's like pulled this ideology of like, let me just wait until something happens, and something happens, and he ends up on the podium. His post-race interview with Gunther was hilarious because he was literally like, Gunther was like, hey, like, you finished 3rd today, like, congrats. And George was like, well, we were supposed to finish 5th. So
he was like, I don't want supposed to be here.
The fact that I'm here is kind of insane. But yeah, I mean, the Mercedes, brutal weekend just because, Lewis struggled with the, I forget what part he had replaced, but he started from the pit lane.
Power unit,
thank you. Which I didn't realize kind of how brutal it was for Baku, especially in other tracks where this can be a thing. When you start in the pit lane, you have to wait until the rest of the car is past the exit to then go.
And the pit lane is long, I think.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my God. So like all the places and everything that could come up or, get jambled up right off the rip, you kind of got to wait for them to play out by the time they're coming past the pit exit. So I thought that was interesting, but yeah, I mean, kind of whatever weekend for Mercedes, but
yeah. I know you want to end with your faves, so we can go into the controversial topic for this episode. We won't spend too long on it. Before we get there, we can do Charles and Max first, and then go into the other two.
Into the other two, yeah.
Charles, perfect Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, Friday on the edge of that with that car, puts it into the wall. Doesn't practice obviously for the rest of FP1. There was a lots of ins, like FP2 was very back and forth because there was more red flags and yellow flags and stuff.
Yeah.
Qualifying, that was 2022, 2023 Charles Leclerc qualifying that we got to watch.
It was your very stereotypical, like run-of-the-mill Charles Leclerc qualifying session of just, I'm going to absolutely just fucking send it for one lap and one lap only, and he did.
And you had Brian come over the radio, like when he said P1, and he was like, no one's close. Like, I mean, you have that from the Just F1 car, that amazing account that does the gaps. Oscar and Carlos are no, like,
the gap to Oscar's is 0.3 of a second. I mean, it doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a good gap,
A very good gap. I mean, he got a good start during the race. He was able to go in front, and he had a decent gap for a very long time.
Yeah.
I thought if he could keep going, he could have gotten enough of a gap to like do the pit and come out and still be fine, but he didn't. I mean, he's not in the McLaren of this year or Red Bull of last year, so that wasn't happening. I have to go back. I don't know if his pit stop was slow because he came out and then it was over from then. Like, because Oscar overtook him very quickly after.
Was it slow?
Can
we find out?
And then, I mean, you can ask mom because she was, or you can ask dad and mom. They were up at that point when Oscar overtook him. And then every time he kept trying to get back at him in turn 2, I was like, come on. Dad was even like, he has to go try for the other line. I was like, I don't think he can do it.
I literally, like, it was like watching deja vu. Watching Charles go down the straight in front of the pit lane, trying to overtake on Oscar.
It was like I kept rewinding and like I was going back and watching the same lap every time.
Yeah.
It was definitely so. You knew he was frustrated in that car because he just couldn't make that overtake work. But I don't even know if he made the overtake work. Oscar was going to be right there again to get back at him. So
Yeah, I think Oscar had way too much pace and was
Way
like
too much.
really just feeling himself. Like,
well, and once the track was so dusty, so as soon as he was in front of Oscar was in front of Charles, he had that clean air, and we know how much he likes driving in the clean air.
Oscar loves clean air.
He just picked it up and was like, "See ya."
Yeah.
But yeah, obviously Charles gets P2. He gets pole again for the 4th time in a row, but does not get onto P1 for the 4th time in a row. I mean, they also were talking about post-race, I think, or right before the race, maybe even qualifying. They were saying how underrated Charles' season has been because how consistent he has been for most of it. If he didn't have that Canada to Spain, those few weeks,
Yeah.
where he could, if you think about where if he was that consistent during those races, where he could have been in the points.
Oh, it'd be a totally different conversation right now.
Yeah.
You know, not that it's a crazy conversation that we're having about him being so far off the drivers' championships and whatnot, but it'd be 10 times different.
I mean, I think our good friend Dave posted. Is it gonna pull it up? I liked it. I know I did. It's not gonna come up. Posted. It's not gonna come up. But like, if Charles won, and Oscar or Lando finished somewhere, I can't remember exactly where, he would have overtaken. He would have taken 2nd place back. Charles.
Yeah, it's.
What could have been? What
could have
been? Maybe one day. I mean, there's still 7 races left.
Yeah, it's gonna be a wild fucking 7 races. But
yeah, that was
the other 2.
Well, we didn't really talk about Max yet. Max, I think, hated this entire weekend. I will be very honest.
Did not seem like he was having fun.
No. They are definitely struggling. I mean, now it's coming out. There's an article by our friend Mark. There's other articles out that Horner basically confirms that they can trace back when the issue started to last year. What was it? Right before Barcelona? When they introduced the new floor. That's when the issue started. And that's exactly the same week Checo started having issues last year. And his performance started failing. But they didn't really believe him or question it because Max was still able to perform extremely well. But now they look back and they realize. So when Checo says, your car is fucked.
Shit. Yeah. when Toto raises his hand and says, Checo says the car is shit, I have the printed out. I have the printed out. He was not lying.
Yeah. So there you go. That was Max all, really. But yeah, now we go to Checo and Carlos. So, if everyone knows, could have been a Ferrari double podium. Could have been a 2-3. Lap 50. Was it lap 50?
It was 52 total laps. It was lap 51.
Yeah, lap 51. Checo.
Wait, we should be able to tell. Keep going.
No, I think it's lap 50. Was there 2 laps under the safety car? Which Oscar had to be so happy there was 2 laps at the end under a virtual safety car. He could have just, after an intense race like that.
Lap 49.
49. Okay.
DNF. Both of them DNF'd on lap 49.
Yes. Okay. I don't even know how to explain it. It could have been a 3-car crash if Charles didn't pick up some speed right there for a second.
Yeah. The fact that Charles got away out of that corner. I think that was turn 3, turn 2. I think
so. Yeah,
turn 2 because it was the long back straight. The fact that Charles got away coming out of that corner is so helped good for him. You know, I mean, he really, like you said, it really avoided becoming a 3-car crash. But I mean, it's tough to see because we've seen Checo struggling so much, and this race really looked like a return to form for him, which was awesome to see. And I mean, the whole weekend was all about, Checo's been such a dominant driver here and is statistically the most successful driver here. And then you have that happen. And it's brutal.
Yeah, but when you first watch it, I think everyone's mind goes to being like, it's Checo's fault.
Right.
But then when you watch it back, people are like, no, it's Carlos' fault. I mean, FIA ruled it was a racing incident. There's no further action for either of them. They both got out of the car fine. You say your piece first.
I feel like, in my opinion, it is, I would say, it's like a 70-30 split. And I would say 70% of the fault was Checo's. And we talked about this, and I had said it's because Checo was behind him. Checo could see Carlos's car, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the right-hand side, you could see him. I know this is all a matter of opinion. He could technically see him coming over to the left, and Checo had room on the left.
Yeah, Checo had so much room.
Over, you know, so do I think that it's a racing incident? Yes, because if you look at it, like you said, both the driver's cockpit views, you can see the steering wheels are straight. You know, they're on just their racing lines, you know, and they make contact and they go in. It really does look, though, like it's like almost Carlos's fault, because if you watch it back, you just see him drift in and then go right into the wall and like take Checo with him. And it's, oh shit, like what just happened? But I think that because Checo had that room to move over and kind of avoid the incident, it is a little bit more on him. But I think both drivers definitely, I don't think it was any animosity. You know, I think it was just a racing incident, but it's definitely, the other piece that I don't like, and I know you agree with me on this, is Checo's kind of reaction post the crash, which was, you know, we saw him get a little pissed off, which is fine. He went over to Carlos, and it looks like he kind of shoves his head a little bit. Right?
So, yes. And at first you're watching from Checo's onboard, and then there's a clip of Carlos's onboard. Then I think now there's this new angle that's come out from one of the TV, like the broadcast cameras, filming them, watching Checo get out, and he does nudge his head. And after an accident like that, I know they're strapped in, like, to keep their neck up, but you don't know what Carlos could have been in, what state he could have been in.
No, I mean, if you see an accident like that, I mean, even being a lifeguard, you know, we were taught that if you see an accident at a pool, you don't know exactly what happened, you automatically assume like a spinal injury, and you don't do something like that. You know, and these guys have to be somewhat medically trained, or at least like exposed to some form of medical instructions when it comes to being in a crash. You know, so it's the fact that Checo went over there and gave him a little nudge and everything, you know, it's a poor look for Checo. That's the part I don't like at all. Is the part where he goes over and shoves his head. Also, Carlos's radio was heartbreaking. His voice. Yeah, it was hurtful to watch. He was just like, "What happened? What just happened?" That's where they're like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, but what just happened?" Like, because I don't even think. I mean, you literally blinked and they were taking each other into the wall. So, well, that was the thing. Yeah, that's it. That's what the crash is so wild too. Because I mean, it's literally like you see them coming down the straight. Within the next second, they're both in the wall. Yeah, and it's like, whoa, shit! Like, what? That's happened? What you know? I mean. Obviously, it was at Mom and Dad's watching, and Mom and I both went, "Oh my god!" Like, it was so out of the blue. And then obviously there was a virtual safety car called. This is the biggest thing with F1 compared to other motorsports. When I've watched IndyCar, when I've seen like clips of NASCAR, the speed the car is pulling over, like not even finished crashing yet, and the safety people are coming out in IndyCar and stuff. F1 takes forever, and I do agree with Max. George also said it as well. There should have been a full safety car. Someone was like, well, they were not in the middle of the track. They were probably in the narrowest part of the track. You're already on a narrow street circuit with walls on either side. So it's either debris everywhere. There was no runoff roads. I do think a real safety car should have coming out. Yeah, obviously there was anticlimactic for that race to end under a virtual safety car. It would have been just as anticlimactic with a real safety car, but I think at that point, it doesn't matter. No, the size of that crash and the fact that, like, because Checo went over to Carlos, so he gets out and, like, walks on the track. Like, he goes around
to get to Carlos's car. So I do agree with both of them that it should have been a full safety car. I do. But yeah, I mean, I expect we get more follow-up from it this weekend. There was no Ferrari or Red Bulls in the FIA press conferences before Baku, so I'm sure one or each are going to be in one of those press conferences because it's definitely going to be a talking point.
Oh yeah, absolutely,
100%. But yeah, I mean, that was all really the controversial part. I know Owen wants to go to his championship leading team.
Where to begin?
Well, after a disappointing Saturday for Lando, he had a hell of a drive.
So that was really tough. So we'll start there because the whole situation is really kind of weird for Lando, and it didn't make any sense in my head watching it live because what seemed like it happened was in Q1 the timer ran out on Q1, so anybody on their final lap is going. If you would cross the line before that to start a lap, you were still good. Lando did that. Lando's on a flying lap. And then all of a sudden it just looked like he bailed and went into the pits. And it was like, whoa, what the hell is happening? And that was a lot of the discourse online was like, what is he doing? Why do they pull him in? Like all this stuff. Turns out Lando had seen the yellow flag like far in advance or something. And then the lights on his steering wheel came on to indicate a yellow flag as well. Mm-hmm. But then the yellow flag went away on the track, but the lights on the steering wheel didn't. So he literally just got very confused and thought that it was a yellow flag. The section was over. Just pull into the pits. Yeah. So it sucks. It's really just one of those things that it's like, you kind of just have to chalk it up to that's just so unlucky.
He had Charles Leclerc luck out there at that moment. That was awful luck.
But regardless, he finishes P4 in the race.
So impressive.
Which is wild. I mean, there were a couple of he qualified P17 with a couple of other people. He started P15. So he went up 11 spots in that race.
Yep.
Now, there were some positions kind of handed to him just because it was, people were pit stopping, stuff like that. And there were a couple cars in there that you just knew that he was going to overtake on a pit stop and then stay out. And I mean, the whole strategy going into the race was going to be Lando's going to take these tires for as long as he can, go in, try to overcut as many people as possibly can, stuff like that. But to finish P15 or start P15 and then finish P4 is just insane. It's a wild stat. I mean, he really took the ideology of I need to do as much damage control as I possibly can this race, and he did it.
He needed the points. He knew they needed the points.
Yeah, I truly think that's the best position he could have gotten in that entire race. But I won't spend a lot of time on that because I think the true and he rightfully deserves it driver of the day, Oscar Piastri. What a fucking show, man. What a show.
I was heartbroken the overtake was on Charles, but that was such a beautiful overtake.
That clip, and I love that F1 TV did it, where they put the overlay of the meters of the distance between the two cars when the overtake happened, because you saw it. It was 40, 45, kind of hovering, and then as soon as DRS opened, it was 37, 35, 33, 20, 21, it just shot right down. And I mean, he was late on those brakes, but he sent it into that corner, and it was beautiful.
Oh, I think Charles was I didn't think he was going to brake.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't look like he does, because even the F1 TV crew was saying, Charles Leclerc does not brake early here. He's
a late breaker too.
Just Oscar had just broke a little bit later than he did and somehow managed to get that car through that turn flying. I mean, I would love to know the speed he pulled through that corner.
Oh, I'm sure you can find out. No, it was such a beautiful, that was a highlight worthy. I mean, he's had 2 weeks in a row of highlight worthy overtakes. One after another. Like he's making a name for himself.
He's got 2 standing nominees now for, I would say, Overtake of the Month.
Oh, if both of them are not in Overtake of the Month, it's rigged.
It was just, it was beautiful. And I mean, and then to put on a defense fucking masterclass.
Mm-hmm. I kept posting the live timing. Charles and Oscar were so close together for so much of the race. You couldn't see their dots. They were literally one dot.
Yeah.
Like Charles or Oscar would get a little bit farther on the straights, but then as soon as there was the tight sector 2 and all, and it was super tight, Charles was right there on Oscar's tail. But yeah, a defending masterclass from Oscar Piastri.
Just like we said, the same exact camera angle that we were getting shown of them coming down that first straight in turn 1 it was beautiful because every single time you were like, oh my God, Charles was going to get him here. And then it just didn't happen. And it was insane. And I mean, I'm really happy that the F1 TV crew talked about this too, because they were like, I think Alex Jake said it. He said, this feels like more of a deserving first win for Oscar Piastri.
I posted, I was like, can we forget about Hungary now?
Yeah, in my mind, I think this is Oscar's first win in my head. I mean, it was such a good display of his skills and his trust in that car. And it was just a magnificent race. I genuinely thought Charles had won, but it was such a good, it was just so much fun to watch. And
so good.
Joel Embiid was completely right in his tweet. He is going to be world champion one day.
Him and Mark Webber being his mentor in F1 is just perfect.
I have no doubt in my mind that he will be a world champion one day.
Well,
I mean, he's such a good driver.
The minute obviously the minute Lando was out, Q1, he qualifies Q2. People were like, or did qualify Q3. Everyone was like, no papaya rolls this week because I just thought it was kind of the coincidence was very strange. It was obviously luck with Lando and that yellow flag, but they announced earlier this week they're like, no, Oscar will assist Lando. This. Lando gets out Q1. Oscar has the race of his life.
Yeah, granted, this win is all Oscars, but I did also really enjoy how when the team radio came to Lando at one point, we're like, hey, if you can slow down Checo just a tiny bit, that would be great for Oscar. And then he did, and it worked perfectly. It was absolutely, because I think part of that was maybe Lando was in his head of just okay, if I say no to this, it's going to look even, I think it would look even worse. Oh, it would work 10 times what would happen, what happened last time. But the fact that he was just yep, I got it, and did it, and Oscar won the race. And it, like I said, that win is Oscar's, but Lando slowing down Checo obviously played a part in it, because when Oscar pitted, he was able to come out still in front of Checo. Yeah. So it was it played a part a little bit, and it's huge. And it was overall just a great team win from McLaren.
They had no strategy blunders this weekend. It all worked perfectly.
All worked perfectly for them. And it
paid off.
Paid off for them, because now they are officially in first place in the Constructors' Championships for the first time since 2014.
Yeah, in 10 years.
In 10 years, the first time. So we'll jump into our driver and constructors standings updates. As always, I will do the first top 10 drivers, and then I'll do the teams. Top 10 drivers, just because 20 of them is a lot to name. But starting us off, Max Verstappen, first place still in the World Drivers' Championship with 313 points. Right behind him, Lando Norris with 254 points. This is really where it gets interesting.
Here he comes.
Right behind him, in third place, Charles Leclerc with 235 points. So that's less than a 20-point spread for Charles and Lando. And not that far behind him, it's Oscar Piastri at 222 points. That is a 13-point spread from Charles
Mhm.
and Oscar. It's wild.
It's not over, people. It's not
I keep
over.
going back to that Threads mailbag question we got of like, why should I watch the rest of the season?
Came like the perfect time.
Right there. That is why right there. So then in 5th place, there's a little bit more of a spread here. We have Carlos Sainz with 184 points. In 6th place, we have Lewis Hamilton with 166 points. 7th, George Russell, 143 points. 8th place, tied with George Russell. Didn't realize this. Checo Perez with 143 points. So next race is going to be huge for Checo. 9th place, this is where the spread kind of really breaks off.
Yeah,
Fernando
really.
Alonso, 58 points. Lance Stroll in 10th place with even more of a spread, 24 points. So that's your top 10 right there. Going into Singapore this weekend, which is going to be a huge race. And now to our teams. And in lovely, lovely first place, we have McLaren with 476 motherfucking points. 20 points behind them. 2nd place, Red Bull, 456 points. 30 points behind them, Ferrari with 425 points. 114 points behind them, Mercedes in 4th place. In 5th place, we have Aston Martin with 82 points. With 6th place, we have RB VCarb with 34 points. In 7th place, we have Haas with 29 points. Newly in 8th place, we have Williams with 16 points. In 9th place, we have Alpine with 13 points. And still hanging out at the bottom, having their own little party, Pick Sauber with 0 points.
Gotta feel for them, man.
Kind of feel for them. But, yeah, great race. I don't have anything more to talk about with that. It's just such a blast. Again, if you are for some reason listening to this show and you don't watch F1, first of all, that's a little weird. But you should watch the rest of the season.
And where did you get your championship standing points from?
Our friends over at BoxBox, which is beautiful. It's such a fun. Wait, I gotta find my ad read. There it is. So we've talked about it so many times. BoxBox is this amazing app that we love and we use every single day. I am finding more and more reasons to go on it and use it. It is built by fans, for F1. You can view news, current world and drivers championship standings, just like we did, upcoming race details, and all the headlines from the Formula One world. BoxBox brings together all this information into a beautifully designed layout that you can customize to your favorite team and drivers. Mine is decked out with McLaren stuff. I have the app icon changed to McLaren as well. I'm sure Casey has her set to Ferrari, decked out with Ferrari stuff. So followers of our show can now get 30% off the BoxBox Ultra plan on iOS only right now. This plan unlocks features like customizable app watch faces and complications, and more importantly, the removal of all ads. I hate ads. It's beautiful.
I need to do the watch faces.
Click the link in the description below or on our link tree to use our code Underground30, no vowels except for the leading U, when purchasing the Ultra plan to get your 30% off and to help support our show. We really do, again, want to thank BoxBox for partnering with us and supporting us. And we want to also thank any fans, followers, or listeners of the show that have bought this, and paid into this and used our code. It's the best way to show BoxBox that you listen to us and that you support us. We love you. Thank you so much. And thank you, BoxBox.
Perfect. Into Threads Mailbag.
Threads Mailbag.
Oh, did you see your water bottle?
Yeah, there's like barely any water left in it.
Threads Mailbag. We'll go quick.
Dry.
Question from the one and only Frey. Is Red Bull coming out of this black hole by the end of the season, or do they just really give up and are going to focus on 2025?
Oh boy.
I
wouldn't say give up. I don't know if they're coming out of the black hole. I wouldn't also say that they're giving up because Max, like you said, is still in the lead of the Drivers' Championship. So
yeah,
if they can salvage Max winning the Driver Champs and they lose the Constructors Champs, you're still holding on to Max's streak of the Driver Champ. But I definitely don't think they're coming out of the black hole. I do think though that they're not going to give up on the season.
No, I don't think. I don't think they're coming out of the black hole. I do think maybe I don't know if they've given up on the constructors, or maybe they're not as worried about that. But maybe getting Max the third championship is more on their radar. I don't know. But no, I don't think they've fully given up, and are just like, pack it up, come back next year.
Yeah.
And then Freddie also said, not a question, but on Sky Sports, they said that there's a clause on Max's contract that says he can leave if he starts next year, not even on the podiums, with the eyeball emoji. Interesting.
If he starts next year, not even on the podium.
Like at the beginning of the next season, and there's like first 5-6 races, he's not even on the podium, saying that there's like a clause that he could leave. I mean, I wouldn't put it past.
I wouldn't put it past him. That might really be the time when the Max to Aston Martin rumors start flying. That's might be when that happens.
No, I agree. This wasn't really a question from Casper. It says, can't think of much to ask properly, but would like to know. This is more for me. Considering Charles is your favorite, Oscar's your second favorite, just how stressed were you? I was very stressed. Leave it at that. Very stressed. Yes. I think this one, she doesn't really have questions, but maybe for next week she'll send more from Formon. More about like the top topic of two drivers and the drama, since that's been a big topic as well. So we'll do that. But that was really our F1 Threads mailbag today. We switched up our schedule pretty late, so I got the question out later. Before we get into Singapore predictions, do you want to do your other ad read?
Yes, our other ad read from our friends over at Duracell. Singapore predictions and race preview is brought to you by our new partner, Duracell Portable Power Stations. From the #1 trusted battery brand, Duracell Portable Power Stations and charging hubs allow you to power your laptops, mobile devices, lights, speakers, and any small electronics that make your life easier during a power outage or while away from a wall outlet. I mentioned I had a wedding this past weekend, and having one of these chargers with me for this day would have been insane. It would have been so nice to have, just because I was out all day. And my wife was in the wedding, so I was, taking photos and videos and everything, and burning through my phone battery because I refuse to record in anything less than 4K 60 frames a second.
Yeah, you would.
I'm a weirdo. But it would have been great to have. These things are so cool. I love it and everything, whatnot. So click the link in the description below and check out the Duracell Portable Power Stations, including their 2024 Red Dot award-winning M150 and M250 models, and untether your device charging from the wall and power the possibilities with Duracell Portable Power Stations. Thank you to Duracell for sponsoring this part of the episode.
Thank you, Duracell. So before we get in, obviously it's a night race. Love a good night race.
Yes.
But timings are early morning for us. I'm also a little disappointed because it's F1 Academy race weekend in Singapore. They're back this weekend. I love watching them, so I'll see what time I can get to.
I haven't watched them in a while. I want to watch them again this week.
Well, like, because the European ones and stuff, they've been like so early.
Yeah.
But we are in Singapore. It's very humid.
Yes, we are.
There is a 50 to 60% chance of rain. Oh, Friday's now up to 70. Saturday is 60. Sunday is 40. Yeah, there's between a 40 to 70% chance of rain every single day and night for this upcoming weekend in Singapore. So,
Boxbox is listing qualifying day as thunderstorms. Yeah,
no, it has thunderstorms on there. So yeah, we'll see how that pans out. We'll see what that happens. Preview predictions.
I'm gonna go. We have another weird month break coming up here, which sucks. So in that spirit, I'm gonna go full Delulu. I'm gonna pick Lando winning this race, just to kind of hold me over until this month break is over. I will follow that up with Oscar Piastri coming in second. I'm going full delusional pick here. And then just for the shits and giggles, let's go with, you know what? let's go with George Russell blundering his way into another place because 2 other people crash.
Okay. I'm gonna do. Red Bull struggled here last year as well.
They did.
This is the Carlos Sainz win of last year.
Yep. This is when everybody got a breath of fresh air for winners.
I haven't listened to your voiceover yet for track facts, but I'm sure you're happy to not say Max won.
I do mention it at one point, yes.
What's it called? Okay. Oh my God. Singapore night street circuit. Okay. I'm going to go. You know what? I'm going to do Oscar P1.
Okay.
I think he's going to start labeling himself as a street circuit master.
Street racer.
Right. Yeah, I mean, after you watch him in Monaco this year, now Baku. So I'm going to do, Oscar P1. I'm going to do, just because points-wise, I'm going to do Charles P2 again. Over the father-son podium.
Okay.
Oscar, Charles. You know what? I was going to put a Mercedes, too. I was going to do Lewis, though.
You can throw Lewis on there.
I think that's another week we don't see Red Bull up there, unfortunately.
It's just an insane thing to think about, but
yeah, so I do Oscar, Charles, Lewis. That's my podium. The podium we could have gotten in Spa or Zandvoort, whatever was right for the break.
Yes, correct.
The podium we could have gotten. But yeah, that's my podium. Here are my predictions. Anything else you like to add?
I got nothing except because they start in 12 minutes. Go Birds.
I know we finished perfectly.
Yeah.
I will close this out. Thank you so much for giving us a listen on episode 77 of the F1 Underground podcast. 77. Please give us a follow on all social medias, Instagram and Threads at Underground F1, and over on Twitter at Underground_F1. Like, subscribe, comment anywhere you watch or listen to your podcast. That would be great. We will be back next week to recap Singapore, and probably that's it with F1Threads Mailbag as well before we jump into this next 4-week break.
So annoying.
But yes, so thank you so much for giving us a listen, and we will see you all next week. See ya.
See you later.